live? Oh, yes, now we're live. We are now live. Hi, friends. Shabbat Shalom and good Shabbos. It is a great morning here. Absolutely beautiful. Looks like it's going to be a great day. And how can it not be a great day? It's Shabbat. We're here together. Man, I couldn't be happier if I were twins right now. But let's begin our Shabbat morning service with a little bit of gratitude, thanking God for returning our souls. The rabbis felt or believed that our souls return to God every night for a quick clean. The souls are pure energy, and our bodies are made from stuff. And so they get kind of, the Yiddish word is schmutzig. They get kind of schmutzy. They get dirty. So they return and they get delivered back. On page 68, Modeh Ani. Modeh Ani lefanecha melechai v'kayam. Modeh Ani lefanecha melechai v'kayam. Shehechezarta bi nishmati bechemha rabba emunatecha. Modeh Ani lefanecha melechai v'kayam. This part of the service is known as Birkot HaShachar, the morning blessings, and it's kind of a warm-up. Traditionally, this would be said at home. These kind of prayers that we're doing would be said at home or when you were walking to synagogue in the morning, and kind of a warm-up, right? Get our davening, get our praying muscles going. Page 74 at the top, Ma Tovu. Ma Tovu, Ma Tovu, Ma Tovu, Ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkanotecha Yisrael, Mishkanotecha Yisrael, Va'ani berov chastecha, Ahavo ve'techa, Ehesh tachaveh, El heichal kodshecha, Biratecha, El heichal kodshecha, Biratecha. Adonai ahavti me'on beitecha, V'mekol mishkan kavodecha, Va'ani eshpachaveh, V'echra'ah, Evrecha lifnei Adonai osi. Va'ani tefilati, Lecha Adonai, Eikra Hatzon, Elohim, Berov Hastecha, Aneni Be'emet Ishecha. We turn the page, we get to another blessing of gratitude, Asher Yatzar, thanking God for our bodies and that they work properly. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher yatzar et ha'adam b'chokhmah, uvaravo nekavim, chalulim, galui v'yadu l'fnei chisei chevodecha, she'im yipateach echad mehem, o yisatem echad mehem, אי אפשר להתקיים ולעמוד לפניך. ברוך אתה אדוני, רופא כל בשר ומפליא לעשות. We turn to page 80 for Birkot HaShachar proper, the morning blessings. I'll ask everyone, please rise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan l'sech bibina lahavchin bein yom u'bein layla. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, pokeach ivriim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, matir asurim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, zokef kufufim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, roka haaretz al mayim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamechin mitzadei gaver. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, malbish arumim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hanoten laif koach. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hama'avir shena me'inai, utnuma me'afapai. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani b'tzelem Elohim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani ben chorin. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Ozeh Yisrael b'gvora. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Oteh Yisrael b'tifara. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kedeshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. You may be seated. A little bit of learning this Shabbat morning on page 89. I'm in a Maimonidean kind of mood today. Right? Maimonides, Rambam, Moshe ben Maimon, probably the smartest Jew who ever lived. And the only reason, if he had the blessing of being born in Spain and then living in Egypt during the Muslim control of that part of the world. If he had lived in Eastern Europe, we would not have known his name because he was too much of an intellect for Eastern Europe. They wouldn't have known what to do with him. And so thank goodness he was a Sephardic Jew, and that we have his writings. So he was big on the idea of tzedakah, right? And he says there are 8 degrees or 8 levels, and it's often seen as a sulam, a ladder. And he says each one is higher than the one before, right? So 8 levels, and if you give tzedakah, now you could call it charity, although that really doesn't work. Tzedek means righteousness, and while it can deal with money, it also deals with how we treat people. And so Maimonides focuses on the money aspect, but it doesn't have to be money. So the first level is to give grudgingly, reluctantly, or with regret, right? You know you have to do it, and you do it, but you don't want to do it because that means you're giving money to someone else or to another, like an organization, instead of having that money to go and buy the latest iGadget, right? So you have to give that money up, and you can't use it for yourself, and you do it, but you're not happy about it. Okay. You give less than you should, but with grace, right? Now, you know that you're required to give, 100 shkalim, and you give 50, but you do it with a smile, and you're in a good mood while you're doing it. You give should, but only after being asked, right? So it's not something that's internal, that you automatically know that you should be doing it, right? That there's no little itch inside of you saying, don't forget tzedakah, don't forget to help out the people who need it. So you have to be asked, and then you do it. To give before one is asked, right? They're coming to ask, and you give before they can ask. Okay, so that's right about the middle for Maimonides, is that you want to be asked, but you don't want to have them come and ask you, so you just do it before they ask. To give without knowing who will receive it, although the recipient knows the identity of the giver. Right? That's for Maimonides. You would think that should be at the top, right? It was anonymous. Well, but it's not truly anonymous, right? You don't know who gets it. Okay, well, that's a good thing. But the person who receives it does know it comes from you, and that might affect the power dynamic between you. And I'm not saying that there's like a huge power dynamic, but the idea is that person now may be embarrassed to be around you, not because you know, but because they know. And so it kind of tweaks the relationship aspect of it. To give without making known one's identity, right? Okay, anonymous, right? You give the money, you don't know where it's going to go, but you've given it. To give so that neither giver nor receiver knows the identity of the other. That's almost at the top, right? And a lot of us would say, wow, that makes the most sense, right? That's the best, right? You give the money, or you give the food, or you donate the clothes, and the people who get it, they don't know it's coming from you. So when you see them again, you don't have to worry about it. And when they say you again, you don't have to worry about it, right? Because there's no change there. And a lot of people would say that's the highest. But Maimonides says, no, there's one that's even higher. And this is the most difficult one. And this is the one that, at least in our country, this is the one where we fight it as an uphill battle, because it's to help another become self-supporting by means of a gift, a loan, or by finding employment for the one in need, right? Make them self-sufficient. Don't have them have to rely on tzedakah. Give them a trade, teach them a trade, have a safety net of programs that if they fall, they don't hit rock bottom, and they can use those safety programs to lift themselves up and get on their feet. Right? One of the sad things about our country is that when I was growing up, we had VOTEC, vocational technical schools that, well, my high school classmates went to, and they learned a trade. Then we're going to go to college, so they learn plumbing, they learn hairdressing, they learn barbering, they learn cooking, they learned all sorts of things. So when they graduated, they got the job that they wanted. Yes?
No, I think there's a West African expression about teaching someone to fish.
Yeah, you feed them if you give someone a fish, you feed them for a day. If you teach them how to fish, you feed them for their life. And that makes perfect sense, right? So, and Maimonides, over 1,000 years ago, almost 1,000 years ago, that was, and I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't hear that. Teach a man to fish, and where he helped that, maybe got that. So that's his 8 degrees of tzedakah, from the most basic, the lowest level, which you still get credit for, up to the highest level. And each level, it becomes less about the individual who's giving, but the community in which they are. Right? When you give and neither person knows, that's not up to you. That's up to who's handling the tzedakah, who's distributing it. The teaching, the making it able for a person to become self-supporting by having those kinds of things. Yes, individuals can do it, but the community has to be on board as well. All right, that's Maimonides' 8 levels of tzedakah. Page 90 and 92, Kaddish D'Rabbanan. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabbah, v'alma divrach hiruteh v'yamlik malchuteh, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayedecho Beit Yisrael, v'agala v'zman kari v'yimru Amen. Yeh shmei Rabbah mivarach l'olam l'mei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yithalal shmei d'kudusha b'richu. Le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, da'amiram ba'alma v'yimru Amen. Al Yisrael v'al Rabbanan v'al Talmidei-hon, v'al kol Talmidei-hon, v'al kol man daskim v'oraita di v'atra hadain v'di v'chol atar v'atar. Yehei lahon l'chon shlam rabba, china v'chista b'rachamin, v'chayin arichin, v'zonei b'vichei, for kanam mikudam v'hon v'ishmaya v'yara v'yimru Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim tovim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu b'rachamav ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'yimru Amen. We're leaving now Birkot HaShachar, the morning blessings, and we are going to move into Pesukei de Zimra, verses of psalm and praise. And the brachot are longer, more involved, and are less about the individual and more about God's relationship to us as an Am Segula, as God's treasured people. Page 94, we'll begin with Baruch She'amar. Baruch She'amar v'haya olam, Baruch hu, Baruch Osef Reshit, Baruch Omer v'yoseh, Baruch Gozer Mekayim, Baruch Merachem al haaretz, Baruch Merachem al habriot, Baruch Meshalem Sachar Tov l'Reyahav, Baruch Haylad v'Kayam l'Netzach, Baruch Podeh U'Matzil, Baruch Shemaho. And in the English paragraph, about 3 lines from the bottom, beginning with the word with, let's read together. With songs of praise, we extol you and proclaim your sovereignty. for you are the source of life in the universe. One God, life of the universe, praise and glorious ruler, your name is eternal. Blessed are you, Adonai, sovereign, who is glorified through praise. Baruch atah Adonai, melech b'hulal b'tishbachot. Page 96, some verses from Psalm 92, the Psalm for Shabbat. Mizmor shir liyom hashabbat, tov lehodot ladonai, ולזמר לשמך העליון, להגיד בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות, עלי אסור ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון בכינור, עלי אסור ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון בכינור. כי שמחתני אדוני בפניך במעשה ידיך, אבניהן מה גדלו מעשיך אדוני מאוד עמקו במשפטיך, איש בר לא ידע וכסיל לא יבין את סוד. צדיק כתמר יפרח, כארז בלבנון יזכה, שתולים בבית אדוני, בחצרות אלוהינו יפריחו. בו ג'נובון בשיבה, דשנים ורעננים יהיו להגיד, כי ישר אדוני צורי ולא עוולה תבוא. Page 97, Psalm 145. A little help from three of its friends, though, it becomes Ashrei. It's an acrostic on its own, Psalm 145. Every letter is representative in the Hebrew alphabet except the letter Nun, and the rabbis suggest that the letter Nun gives us the word nafal, which means to fall, and they don't want Israel to fall, the people of Israel to fall, so they left the Nun out. I don't know if that's true, but it makes for a good story. Page 97, Ashrei. Ashrei Yoshvei Bitecha, O Jehalalu Chasela. Ashrei Am Shekacha Lo, Ashrei Ha'am Shadonai Elohav. Tehillah LeDavid, Arumimcha Elohai HaMelech, V'avarcha Shimcha Li'olam Va'ed. B'chol Yom Avarchecha, V'ahalala Shimcha Li'olam Va'ed. Gadol Adonai U'la Me'od, V'ligdulato Ein Cheker. Dor L'dor Yeshabach Ma'asecha, U'gvuratecha Yagidu. Hadar Kivod Hodecha, V'divrei Niflaotecha Asicha. Be'ezuz Norotecha Yomeru, U'gdulatecha Asaprena. Zecharav Tufcha Yabihu, V'tzid Katacha Yeranenu. Chanun V'rachum Adonai, Erech Apayim U'to Chased. Tov Adonai Lakol, V'rachamav Al Kol Ma'asav. Yoducha Adonai Kol Ma'asecha, V'chasidecha Yevarchucha. Kivod Malchutecha Yomeru, U'gvuratecha Yedaberu. Lehodia Libnei Hadam Gvortav, V'chvod Hadam Malchuto. Malchutecha Malchut Kol Olamim, U'memshaltecha B'chol Dor V'ador. Somech Adonai L'chol Hanoflim, V'zokef L'chol Hakfufim. Einei Chol Elecha Yisaberu, V'ata Noten Lahem Et Ochlam Be'ito. Poteach Et Yadecha, U'maspil L'chol Chai Ratzon. Tzadik Adonai B'chol Drachav, V'chasid B'chol Ma'asav. Karuv Adonai L'chol Korav, L'chol Asher Yikru V'yamet. Chitzon Yireyav Yaseh, V'yet Shavatam Yishma V'yoshiem. Shomer Adonai Et Kol Ovav, V'yet Kol Harashayim Yashmid. Tehillat Adonai Daber Pi, V'varech Kol Basar Shem Kodsho Li'olam Va'ed. V'anachnu Nevarech Yah, Me'ata V'ad Olam. Hallelujah. Page 100, as we start to move out of Psukei Zimra, Psalm 150, the final psalm found in the book of Psalms, also known as Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah b'kodsho. Hallelujah birkia uzo. Hallelujah b'gvorotav. Hallelujah kirov gudlo. Hallelujah b'teka shofar. Hallelujah b'nevel v'chinor. Hallelujah b'tofu machol. Hallelujah b'minim v'ugav. Hallelujah b'tiltile shama. Hallelujah b'tiltile trua. Kol haneshama tehallelia. Hallelujah. Kol haneshama tehallelia. Hallelujah. Page 101 and following. We'll begin at the top with Nishmat. Nishmat kochai, tevarech et shimcha Adonai Eloheinu. V'roko basar, tiferes min zechariah. Malkeinu tamid min halam bar olam ata'el. Ein lanu melech el ata, Elohei harishonim v'achronim. Eloah, kol briot Adon, kol toladot. המהולה ברוב התשפחות. לך לבדך אנחנו מודים. אילו פינו מלאשיה קיים, ולשוננו הנה כהמון, גלה בשצתנו שבח. כמרחבי רקיע, ועינינו נראות כשמש ויקרק לה. כירח וידינו. הנה הכסגים להודות לך, ולמתנו בימותינו, ולברך את שמך על אחת מאלף אלפי אלפים, וריבי רבבות פעמים הטובות שעשית עם אבותינו ואמותינו ועמנו. על כן איברים שפלגת בנו, ברוח ונשמה שנפתחה באפינו, לשון אשר שמת בפינו. פן לך יודע, ובראשם לך תשמע. דבר שכתוב כל עצמותיי, תאמרנו אדוני מי כמוך, תאמר לדוד, ברכי נפשי את אדוני, וכל קרובי את שם קודשו. Page 104 at the top. האל בתעצמות עוזך, הגדול בכבוד שמך, הגיבור לנצח והנורא בנורותיך, המלך היושב על כיסא רם ונישא, שוכן עד מרום וקדוש שמו. וכתוב ראינו צדיקים באדוני לשרים נאווה תהילה, בפי ישרים תתהלל, ובדברי צדיקים תתברך, ובלשון חסידים תתרומם, ובקרב קדושים תתקדש. ובמקלות רבבות עמך בית ישראל, ברינה יפר שמך מלכנו בכל דור ודור. Top of page 105, please rise for Yishtabach. Yishtabach שמך לעד מלכנו. האל המלך הגדול והקדוש בשמיים ובארץ. כי לך נר אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו, שיר ושפחה, הלל וזמרה, עוז וממשלה, נצח גדולה וגבורה, תהילה ותפארת, קדושה ומלכות, ברכות והודאות מעתה ועד עולם. ברוך אתה אדוני, אל מלך גדול בתשבחות, אל ההודאות אדון הנפלאות, הבוחר בשירי זמרה, melech elchei ha'olamim. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei rabbah, ve'amad yivrach hirutei v'yamlik malchutei, v'chayechon u'vyomechon u'chayei dechol beit Yisrael. Bagala, ubizman kariv, v'yimeru amen. Yehesh meh rabba mevarach, li'alam lo me'amaya. Yitbarach, v'yishtabach, v'yitbar, v'yitruam, v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar, v'yitalev, v'yitalal, shmei d'kudashah, b'richu. Leila min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiram belma v'yimeru amen. Page 108, Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai Borach Leolam Vaed. You may be seated, page 110 at the top. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, yotzer ur uvorei choshech, oseh shalom uvorei et hakol. Amir la'aretz l'dorim aleha barachamim, uvtuvo mechadesh b'chol yom tamid ma'aseh v'reishit. Ma'rahu ma'aseh Adonai kulam b'chokhmah asita. Malach haaretz kinyinecha, titbarach Adonai Eloheinu al shevach masei yadecha, v'al yorei ursh asiti yafaru chasela, ur chadash al Tzion ta'ir, v'nizkechu lanu mehera lioro, baruch atah Adonai, yotzer ha'me'orot. At the top of page 112, the first two lines of Ahava Rabbah, the second bracha before Shema. Ahava Rabbah haftanu, Adonai Eloheinu, chemla idola v'tera, chamalta aleinu. And let's read together that paragraph in English. How deeply you have loved us, Adonai, our God, gracing us with surpassing compassion. On account of our forebears whose trust led you to teach them the laws of life, be gracious to us, teaching us as well. O merciful one, have mercy on us by making us able to understand and discern, to heed, learn, and teach, and lovingly to observe, perform, and fulfill all that is in your Torah. V'ha'er eneinu b'toratecha, v'dahabek lebeinu b'mitzvotecha, Ve'yached levaveinu li'ahava u'yira et shemecha ve'lo nevosh ve'lo nikalem ve'lo nikashel le'olam va'ed ki v'shei kodshecha Hagadol v'hanora b'hatachnu Nagila v'nismecha b'shuatecha V'havienu l'shalom me'arba kanfot ha'aretz V'tolichenu k'mumiut li'artzenu Ki el poel yeshuot ata Uvanu v'charta v'keratan l'shimcha hagadol Sela be'emet Lehodot l'chal yehedcha b'ahavaha Baruch atah Adonai Habocher ba'amo Yisrael V'ahava Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol lavavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol meodecha ve'hayu advarim ha'ele Asher Anochi mitzavecha hayom levavecha vishinantam levanecha vidibar tabam bishiftecha beveitecha uvlektecha baderech uveshokbecha uvkumecha uvshartam laot al yadecha vehayu latotafot bein einecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvish arecha. Top of page 118. Vayomer Adonai el Moshe lemor dahaber el bnei Yisrael v'amarta lehem v'asu lehem tzitzit al kanfei vigdehem ledorotam v'natenu al tzitzit hakanaf petil techelet v'haya lachem l'tzitzit Uritem oto, uschartem et kol mitzvot Adonai, va'asitem otam, velo tatu acharei lavachem, v'acharei nechem, asher tem zonim achareihem. Leman tizkeru, va'asitem et kol mitzvotai, v'tem kedoshim leloechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem Asher hotzeiti echem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem le'Elohim Ani Adonai Elohechem Adonai Elohechem Emet V'atzivahu v'chaviv v'norav v'adir v'tov yafeh. Hadavar hazeh aleinu li'olam va'ed. Emet Elohei olam malkeinu tzor Yaakov magei yishenu. L'dor v'ador hu kayam u'shmo kayam. V'chiso nachon u'muchuto v'emunuto la'ad kayamen. U'divarav chayim v'kayamim. V'nemanim v'nechamadim la'ad olomei olamim. Mitzrayim galtanu Adonai Eloheinu mibeit amidim piditanu al zot shivchu ahuvim v'romimu el v'natenu yidim zmirot shirot v'tishbachot brachot v'hodaot l'melech el chai v'kayam ram v'nisa gadol v'nora mashpil ge'im u'makpia shefalim motzi asirim ufodeh anavim v'ozer dalim v'oneh lamo be'ed shav'am. Tehilot le'el elyon, Baruch hu umvorach, Moshe v'nei Yisrael chanu shira, b'simcha rabah, v'yamru chulam. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh, nohora tehilot, O Seifele, Shira Chadasha, Shivchu Geulim, Leshimcha al Sifatayam, Yad Kulam, Hodu, Vehimlichu Ve'amru, Adonai Yimloch Liolam Va'ed, Tzor Yisrael, Kuma be'ezrat Yisrael, u'techenu mecha Yehuda ve'Yisrael. Go aleinu Adonai tzvaot shemo, Kedosh Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai, Gal Yisrael. Please rise. We are at the Amidah, the central prayer in most of our services, if not all of them. And we will begin together on 124, and we'll chant 124, 126, 128, and yes, wait for it, even page 130. And after that, you can finish the Amidah on your own. You can read the English, you could read the Hebrew, or you could offer up your own prayer at that time. So let's begin together, page 124. Adonai sifatai tiftach, ufi agi tehilatecha. Adonai sifatai tiftach, ufi agi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avoteinu v'Imoteinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor V'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim Bekonei Hakol Bezocher Chastei Avot V'Imahot Umevi Goel Livnei B'neihem Leman Shemo Be'ahava Melech Ozer Umoshia Umagin Baruch Atah Adonai Magin Avraham Bezrat Sarah Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai Mechaye metim atarav lehoshia, mashiv haruach umorid hagashem, mechalkel chayim bechesed, mechaye metim berachamim rabim, somech noflim berofei cholim, umatir asurim, umekayem emunato. Lishenei afar, michamocha bal givorot, umidom melech, melech mimit umechayeh, umatzmiach Yeshua, b'ne'eman ata lachayot metim, baruch ata Adonai, mechayeh hametim. Nikadesh et shimcha ba'olam, keshem shemakdishim oto b'shmei marom, kakatuv al yad nevi'echa, v'kara zeh el zeh v'amar, kadosh, 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 Adonai tziva'ot, melo chol haaretz, Kivodo, Adir, Adirenu, Adonai, Adonenu, Ma'adir, Shimcha, B'chol ha'aretz, Baruch Kivod Adonai, Bimkomo, Echadu Eloheinu, Hu Avinu, Hu Malkeinu, Hu Moshienu, Behu Yashminu, Berachamav le'enei kol chai, Ani Adonai Elohechem, Imloch Adonai le'olam, Elohai Yikzion, Ledor vador, Hallelujah, Ledor vador nagid God lecha, Umanetzach netzachim kedushacha nahakdish, v'shivchacha Eloheinu mipinu lo yamush leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh. Let's turn to page 134 and let's read this paragraph together in English. Our God and God of our ancestors, be pleased with our rest. Sanctify us with your mitzvot and grant us a share in your Torah. Satisfy us with your goodness and gladden us with your salvation. Purify our hearts to serve you in truth. In your gracious love, Adonai our God, grant us your holy Shabbat as a heritage. May Israel, who sanctifies your name, rest on Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai, who sanctifies Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh ha-Shabbat. Page 139, a little bit of Hoda'ah, a little bit of Thanksgiving. And Thanksgiving in our tradition begins with gratitude, right? Hakarat hatov, recognizing the good. And so this morning, I think now that our joyful almond is here, we'll start with Miranda and ask Miranda to read, and then we'll go counterclockwise. I'm feeling sassy today. Right, so we'll go counterclockwise. So Miranda, would you begin, please?
For the expanding grandeur of creation, worlds known and unknown, galaxies beyond galaxies, filling us with awe and challenging our imaginations.
Modim anachnu lach.
This fragile planet, Earth, its times and tides, its sunsets and seasons.
Modim anachnu lach.
For the joy of human life, its wonders and surprises, its hopes and achievements.
Modim anachnu lach. For human community, our common past and future hope, our oneness transcending all separation, our capacity to work for peace and justice in the midst of hostility and oppression.
Modim anachnu lach. For high hopes and noble causes, for faith without fanaticism, for understanding of views not shared.
Modim anachnu lach.
For all who have labored and suffered for a fairer world, who have lived so that others might live in dignity and freedom.
Modim anachnu lach.
For human liberties and sacred rights, for opportunities to change and grow, to affirm and choose.
Modim anachnu lach. And together, we pray that we may live not by our fears, but by our hopes, not by our words, but by our deeds. Blessed are you, Adonai. Your name is goodness, and you are worthy of thanksgiving. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulecha na'el lehodot. All right, page 140, we'll end our Amidah with the prayer for peace, and it is Sim Shalom in the morning. And I have been starting the tune wrong the last couple of weeks. So, Miranda, you want to start the tune for us?
Oh, okay. Sim shalom
Tova uvracha, chen v'chesed v'rachamim, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael amecha, barcheinu yotzreinu, kulanu ke'echad be'or panecha. Ki be'or panecha nahatata lanu, Adonai Eloheinu. Torat chaim v'ahavat chesed, utzedaka uvracha, v'rachamim v'chaim v'shalom, v'rachamim v'chaim v'shalom. V'tov be'enecha levarech et amecha Yisrael b'chol eit u'b'chol shah b'shlomecha. Baruch atah Adonai hamivarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom. Thank you, Miranda, for starting me off. I have another tune in my head for some reason, and it's not pretty. All right, we're going to jump ahead to page 253. One of our prayers for healing. This one is Misha Berach. Misha Berach, Abotenu v'Imotenu, Avraham, Yitzchak, v'Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, v'Leah, Hu yivarech et hachulim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yimalei Rachamim Aleihem, Lahachalimam, Larapotam, Lachazikam, V'yishlach Lehem Mehera Refuah Shlema Min HaShamayim, Refuah Tanefesh, Refuah Taguf, Hashda Bagala Bisman Kariv and Omar. Amen. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless and heal those who are ill. May the Blessed Holy One be filled with compassion for their health to be restored and their strength to be revived. May God swiftly send them a complete renewal of body and spirit. And let us say, Amen. All right, we're going to jump ahead to page 258 and 259, prayers of our community. Nick, you are the board representative here today, so could you give us the prayer for our congregation?
Source of all being, may the children of this community learn these passions from us. Love of Torah, devotion and prayer, and support of the needy. May we guide with integrity, and may our leadership be in your service. May those who teach and nourish us be blessed with satisfaction, and may we appreciate their time and their devotion. Bless us with the fruits of wisdom and understanding, and may our efforts bring fulfillment and joy.
Baruch atah Adonai, she'otecha levavcha b'yirah na'avod. Taylor, would you like to take either the top two paragraphs or the bottom paragraph for the prayer for our country?
Thus says Adonai, this is what I desire, to unlock the fetters of wickedness and untie the cords of lawlessness, to let the oppressed go free, to break off every yoke. Share your bread with the hungry, and take the wretched poor into your home. When you see the naked, give clothing, and do not ignore your own kin. If you banish the yoke from your midst, the menacing hand, the evil speech, if you offer compassion to the hungry and satisfy a famished creature, then your light shall shine in darkness.
Thank you. Shalu Shalom Yerushalayim, Yishlayu Ovayich. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. May those who love you prosper. Abinu Shabashamayim, Sur Yisrael V'golo, Barech et Medinat Yisrael, Reishit Smichat Gulatenu. Hagen Aleha B'Yavrat Chasdecha, Ufros Aleha Sukat Shlomecha, Ushlach Orachav Amitcha, Rasheha Sareha V'Yoetzeha, V'tak Neim Be'etza Tova Milfanecha. V'natata Shalom Ba'aret, V'simchat Olam V'Yoshveha, V'nomar. Amen. Miranda, how about the prayer in English, please?
O Heavenly One, Protector and Redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, which marks the dawning of hope for all who seek peace. Shield it beneath the wings of your love. Spread over it the canopy of your peace. Send your light and truth to all who lead and advise, guiding them with your good counsel. Establish peace in the land and fullness of joy for all who dwell there. Amen.
Thank you for all who read. All right. I have a teaching, or a couple of teachings today. As I've said a number of times in the past couple of weeks, the book of Leviticus is not the most compelling reading in the Torah. As a matter of fact, most people know how I feel about Leviticus. But I always like to find things to say. And my Rebbe, my main teacher, Rabbi Giller, taught us that the best commentary for the book of Leviticus comes from the Hasidim, the Hasidic Rebbe's, because it has so little to do with the daily lives, our daily lives as Jews, that they needed to find something to talk about. So I'm just going to sit up here and rest my knees. So, no disrespect. Pearl clutching can be after services. And so this week it's Parshat Tzav, and there's not a lot that goes on in this week's Parsha. A lot of it is a restatement of what was introduced last week in the first Parsha of Vayikra, Parshat Vayikra, and it's a long discussion about the types of sacrifices, right? And so that's the book of Vayikra. It literally means "and he called," but in English it comes to us from the Greek or Latin, Leviticus, Latin Leviticus, having to do with the Levites, right? Because it's about the Kohanim, who are actually Levites, but a step above, and their duties, right? And so the Hasidim the Hasidic Rebbes, especially the early generations, really wanted to find something compelling and to find something that they could teach their Talmidim, their students, on how to up their Judaism in a way. And so this morning, early in the Parsha, we have this phrase, Veherim et hadeshen, and take up the ashes. Now, the Kohanim, the Kohanim, were commanded that one of the first things they did in the morning when they went in to tend to the Mishkan, to the tabernacle, and then later to the temple, was that they had to clean off the ashes from the previous day's burnt offerings. And so they would change their clothes. They would not be in their finery, but they would put on some like work clothes, and they would clean the altar off. This was not pushed off to the Levites. This was something that the Kohanim had to do. And so the Reb Simcha Bunam of Peshischa found that very, very interesting, and this is what he brings into us. V'zo hi ha'avodah harishona gam etzel hakohen hagadol v'hichnaso lifnei v'lefanim. And he says, and this is the very first thing that the high priest has to do when he enters into the Holy of Holies. Right? You can't put it off. I'll do it later. I'll do it at the end of my shift. I'll do it. No. First thing that you do when you go in, what the Kohen Gadol, notice it's the Kohen Gadol. This is the top, right? This is the guy, right? This would be Aaron, Moshe's brother at this point. And you would think that he would, what do they call it? Field it off or delegate it to like a junior Kohen. Kid, I don't want to get my hands dirty. Look, I'm the high priest. I'm the Kohen Gadol. You do this. And the Reb Simcha Bunam of Peshischa saying, this is what he has to do. And the reason is, V'lama'an lo yishkach hakohen, so that the Kohen doesn't forget, Bachir ha'am. Now, I'm sorry, no. Ulama'an lo yishkach hakohen, Bachir ha'am, so that the Kohen, the chosen of the people, right? He is at the top of the pecking order, right? He is the chosen of the people, so that he doesn't forget, B'va'ol l'makom kodesh v'nora kazeh, that when he enters into a place of holiness and awesomeness, that he does not forget inyanav ha'peshutim v'hageshamim shel ha'am, that he does not forget the everyday, the simple and physical needs of the people. Right? Being the Kohen Gadol, you were almost royalty. You were the one who got to go into the Holy of Holies. You were the one who had direct access to the place where God dwelt. No one else did. And so you could get a bit of an ego. And so the Reb Simcha Bunam says this is to keep the Kohen's ego in check. That when he goes in there to do the holy work, when he goes in there to do his work, he cannot forget the needs of the people. He has to keep that first and foremost in his head. He is the one who is going into literally the place to talk to God. And don't forget the reason you're there. You're not there because you're wonderful. You're there because you are the chosen from the people, and you have to do the work for them as well. Right? You can't just forget the people. Right? And it's the Peshutim, the simple needs, and the Gashmiim, the physical things. Right? Gashmiyut is often translated as like the base physical needs that we have. But here the Rebbe is saying, no. Just these are like the everyday needs of the people. The physical and the other stuff. L'chein, tzivata haTorah Thus the Torah commands, Ufasha'at et bigadav lavash bigadim acherim, that he takes off the Torah commands that he takes off his fancy Kohen Gadol clothes and puts on simple clothes. Yilbush bigdei chol, v'ya'asoch ba'avodat chol, that he will put on everyday clothes to do this everyday kind of work. Kedei sheyizkor lehitpalel al hatzorchim harigalim v'hapushutim shel ha'am, that he will remember to pray for the day-to-day needs of the people. Right? And so this idea that the Rebbe is pushing through for us is that no matter your position, and when it comes to holy work, there's no exemption from like the mundane, right? Nobody wants to clean the Mizbeach in the Mishkan or in the temple, right? Nobody would want to do that. So the Kohen Gadol is commanded from the outset to put his ego into check so that he does not forget why he's there. And he's there as a representative of the people. And so he has to not only pray for his needs and do the rituals, he has to also keep in mind the people. Right? Now we can, apply this to anything, right? You're in a synagogue, you attain leadership, and you think you don't have to do anything. I'm a leader. Other people will do that. No, put your ego in check. Right? People are always shocked when they come in and they see if I have something going on that I put out the tables and the chairs, and then I help put the tables and the chairs away. They're like, Rabbi, we have people. No. It's my program. I'll do it. And I'm not looking for people to pat me on the back. It's just that this teaching from the Reb Simcha Bunim has resonated with me, right? No matter what, when we're doing holy work isn't just getting up and leading services. Holy work is cleaning up the schmutz that's out in the front that we all walk by, right? Thinking somebody else will do it. But we have somebody who does it, picks up the schmutz, brings it in, throws it away. Doesn't expect, me to stand up here and say, hey, guess what? Look, how wonderful. I mean, I thank the person because it's the right thing to do. But what if we all did it? And not just in front of the synagogue. What if we did it in our neighborhoods, right? We want to wait for somebody else to do it, and then it doesn't get done. So the Kohen Gadol is commanded to do this to get a sense of humility. Yes, you're the Kohen Gadol, but there are a lot of people out there who need your prayers, and they need you to behave in a less than haughty manner. And so, even though we don't have an altar anymore, even though there are no sacrifices, there's lots of things that need to be cleaned, physically and metaphorically. And so I hope that we can take this to heart, that when we were asked to do something and we think it's beneath us, it's not beneath us. We're trying to build a community, whether it's in the synagogue or in our neighborhood or in Huntington or wherever you live, right? Because if you don't do it, it won't get done. And then everybody will complain. Well, why didn't somebody do it? Aren't there people that we have to do this? Yeah, those people are us. Those people are us. And so if we want to do the holy work, we've got to do the mundane stuff and know the reason we're doing it. So the Reb Simcha Bunim is one of my favorite Rebbes. He was the student of the holy Yid of Pshischa, the Yid HaKodesh of Pshischa. And the Reb Simcha Bunim very much influenced the school of Kotsk, the Kotsker Rebbe, and also the Gerer, the Gur Hasidic court. And so his influence is still felt in modern day Hasidut. And he's one of the reasons I really, really like him is that he didn't want to be a Rebbe. In fact, he was a pharmacist when they picked him to lead, and there was a lot of opposition. Part of which because he was a pharmacist, right? So science and all of that. But he also spoke German, and that just drove some of the Hasidim to distraction. Why would you speak German? Now this is the 1700s. This is not 1947, 1950, whatever. And he was a significant Rebbe, and so I love his teachings. But it's all about humility, right? And so now we're going to get a different take on this from Rabbi Menachem Habavli. Same verse. The Heirim et Hadeshen, right? Got to remove the ashes, take up the ashes. Zo echad mitaryag mitzvot. The Heirim et Deshen hamizbeach b'chol yom. He says this is one of the, and now taryag, you see that it's about the third word in from the bold verse. That's an acronym, and that's the number 613. And so when they talk about the mitzvot, that's often how they write it out, taryag hamitzvot, or taryag mitzvot. The first mem there, that's may, that means from. But taf and resh, right? Kuf, tzadi, kuf, resh, shin, and tav. Resh is 200, tav is 400. So tav and resh is 600, yud is 10, gimel is 3, 613. Right? And he says this is one of the 613 mitzvot, to clean the altar, the dust off the altar every day. Okay, well, yeah, it is. It's in the book of Leviticus, and it's one of the commandments. Lahasir et efer hakorbanot. Hanisrafim. To clean off the ashes from the burnt offerings, the korbanot that were burnt. Ha-korbanot, that's the noun, the sacrifices. Ha-nisrafim, that's the adjective, the ones that were burnt. V'yesh bazeh mishum semel v'hora'ah. And this is symbolic, and it teaches us something. Shela'acher shehevi hachoteh et korbano, that after the sinner, the person who has sinned, has brought his korban, his sacrifice, lifnei Adonai, before God, v'hit vada alav, and he is confessed on it, right? Meaning he's confessed the sin. He has brought the sacrifice. He has done what he needs to do to atone for that particular sin at that moment. Ein lahaskir lo, ein lihiskir lo et cheto ba'avar. You are no longer to remind him of his sin that was in the past. Ela mitzvah limchok et ikvotav ulahashkiach oto. Indeed, we're commanded to erase all traces of the sin and forget it. Right? This is a very, very deep teaching that we need to learn. Right? Again, the idea of what the Kohen Gadol was doing was cleaning the altar so that they could have the offerings that day. Right? You got to do the house cleaning. But what Menachem Habavli is saying, it is a symbol now that when you take off the ashes, that is what happened yesterday. Those offerings, those sin offerings that were brought in, they were yesterday. They are now burnt up, and we get rid of them. We get rid of the ashes. And now the person who sinned, They have had the atonement, and we're no longer allowed to remind them that they sinned, because they have brought their sacrifice, and we're assuming that they have done everything else that's required. But once the altar is clean, we don't think about yesterday, we think about now. And so when someone has sinned, whatever the particular misdeed was, once they do tshuva, once they atone for it, we can't go back and remind them.
Clean slate.
They get a clean slate. Now, if they continue to behave in that bad way, well, then it shows that their tshuva, their sacrifice, was not with true intent, and so they're still on the hook. But if somebody does it and they've cleaned the slate and they've changed, we are not allowed to remind them of that sin. How often does that happen? Right? I often tell the story about the old lady who lived across the alley from me when I was growing up. My brother and I were growing up. We played wiffle ball in the backyard, and I broke her window. Inadvertently, my brother served up a hanging curveball, and I knocked it. I hit it so far it needed a stewardess or a steward. Bull Durham. That was a line from Bull Durham. But and what did I do? I went and I got my dad. I said, "This is what happened." He said, "You know what we're going to do?" I said, "Yes." We walked over. I knocked on the door. The woman was already, loaded for bear, and just started screaming, "Yo, you ruffians! You broke my window on purpose!" No, my dad said they were playing baseball in the backyard, and he was a little over exuberant at a hanging curve, and I said, "I'm sorry, ma'am. I will pay for the window. I'll have it paid. Not only replace it, but I'll pay for the person to come and replace it, and we'll take care of it as soon as possible." And I did. I had to do extra chores, but I paid. My father fronted the money, obviously, so we could get it done quickly. The window was paid, and I never broke the window again. To the day she died, many, many, many years later, every time she would see me and there were people around, no matter what, that kid broke my window and would walk away. Lady, I said I was sorry. I made restitution. I did what I was supposed to. Why do you keep embarrassing me? And I asked her that, and she said, "Well, you did, didn't you?" I'm like, "Yeah. Can I have my window back that I replaced?" Because obviously, you don't have you don't have a sense of forgiveness or gratitude.
Can't pick your neighbors.
No, man. But she constantly reminded me of that, and it made me feel bad because I did break the window. But the part that was left off was, I apologized. I replaced it. I didn't break it again. Should be it, right? We constantly hear people reminding everybody of what they were in the past. In the Talmud, in Masechet Bava Metzia, in a very important piece about Lashon Hara, right? We're not allowed to remind people of their ancestry, right? So they say if somebody who comes to Judaism as a convert or as a child of converts, you can't say to them, "Remember what your parents were." What does that got to do with anything? And with a convert, which I hate that word, somebody who chooses Judaism, you're not allowed to say when they come to study, "That mouth at one point ate treif. You ate pork. What are you doing now trying to learn Torah?" Well, they're not eating pork anymore. They've changed their lives. They're studying Torah because they want to. Let's not remind them of the past. And so these two teachings, for me, take something that could be just blown off in the modern world. Yeah, okay, the Kohen had to sweep the altar and make sure it was clean. But the Rebbe Reb Simcha Bunam and Rebbe Menachem Habavli found ways to bring it and impress upon us the need to take this seriously because it does affect our daily lives. The symbol or the reading is there. Any questions, comments, rebuttals? disagreements, better teachings. Anything? No, I'm going to go at anything, Taylor. No? Nick?
No, I think it makes sense.
Okay. Miranda?
Well, I was wondering if, what if the person that did it and knows it was wrong can't let it go themselves?
That's on them. I mean, what I mean by that is I don't mean to be glib, is that I'm not responsible for that. I'm only responsible for how I treat them after they have done the tshuva publicly, right? But if they can't let go of it, and as long as they don't go back and they,
It's like guilt or shame, and they just can't let go of it themselves.
well, if they can't let go of it, that, like I said, that's on them. But I also, I don't want to be responsible for them not being able to let go of it. So when they make the atonement, when they do the right things, I forget about it. Whether or not they do, that's up to them, right? But I won't remind them of it. But
And God forgives them too.
God forgives them at that point too. That's what I tell people. Well, I want to tell them. I can't tell them because it's inappropriate. When my father died, he dropped dead in the middle of the night. And it was a surprise, right? And I went home, we buried my dad, and I went back to Florida to do Shiva at my community. And the comments that I heard, because I wasn't visibly mourning, I wasn't crying every 5 minutes, I wasn't breaking down into tears. And during the minions that I would hear these comments. He always talks about how close he was to his father, yet he's not shedding a tear, and you would think he would be sad. At one point, I stopped the service in the middle of something, and I turned and I said, first of all, you have no idea what I'm going through. But what I will tell you is that most of the sadness at funerals, most of the time people are crying and wailing is because they have regrets. There were things that they wanted to say to the person and they never did. Right? I mean, and that makes people sad. And so my relationship with my dad, he knew everything that I needed him to know. Now, I mean, there are things that, he didn't know about me, which is okay. I mean, but they weren't secret. I wasn't keeping it. He knew I was gay. He knew I had a partner. I was a rabbi, all of that. And so when I went to college, mom and dad would call me every Sunday night just to check in. So when I got out of college, I thought, okay, that'll end. Then I went to grad school, and every Sunday night, there was a phone call. Okay, I got my master's. All right. So then I went and got my doctorate. Phone calls on Sunday nights. Went to rabbinical school. Phone calls on Sunday night. You're seeing the theme here, right? You're picking up on this, right? I get my first pulpit job. First Sunday I'm in the pulpit. Sunday night the phone rings. It's mom and dad. All right, so now, right, we're now many years. I'm out of college many years, right? Every Sunday night was a phone call. The last Sunday night, my dad died early on a Tuesday morning. We were talking, it was a normal conversation. Last words I said to him, the words I ended the conversation. So I told my mom I love her. I told dad, I said, love you. He says, I love you too. Hung up. Those were the last words we spoke. I have no regrets. Everything my dad needed to know about me, he knew. My last words to him were, I love you. His last words to me were, I love you. I was not sad for that. I miss my dad. I was torn up inside, but I had no regrets. Therefore, I didn't have to wail. And so I tell people, best way not to feel bad when somebody dies is to tell them what they need to know. Tell them that you love them. Tell them, well before, we had no idea my dad was going to die, right? But how I felt if we would have ended on an argument. or if we would have ended on a disagreement, right? But I had no regrets. And so, and that shocked them. And then they, oh, he stopped the minion to tell us that? We can't win. One cannot win. But no regrets. And that's part of this whole thing with tshuva and the idea of forgiving and letting somebody, who does the right thing, not having to remind them. Because then you're going to cause them regrets, and then you're going to have regrets. Oh, I should have said, I forgive you, or I should have done this. Shoulda, coulda, woulda? Nah. We have the opportunities. We just don't take them. So, I'm sorry, I'm waxing nostalgic. Nick, it'll be at the board meeting. The rabbi, too many personal stories, not enough Judaism.
But I had it in my notebook.
Huh?
I had it in my notebook.
Yeah, notebook, please. All right. So as I make my way back up to the Amud, I'll ask you all to please rise, because we're going to start closing out with Aleinu. Oh, page 282. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol lateit gedula liotzer reishit shelo asanu kagoye haratzot v'lo hosamanu kamishpachot hadama shelo sam chelkenu kahem v'gohor aleinu kechol hamonam va'anachnu korim umishtachavim umodim lifnei melech Molchei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Shehu Noteh Shamayim V'Yoser Haaretz U'Moshe V'Karo B'Shamayim Imal U'Shchinatu Zo B'Gov Hei Meromim U'Eloheinu Ein Od Emet Malkeinu Efesu Lato Kakatu V'Torato Yadata hayom b'hashevota elevavecha ki Adonai hu ha'Elohim b'shamayim mimal v'al haaretz mitachat einon. Kakatu b'tortecha Adonai imloch v'olam va'ed v'nemar v'haya Adonai l'melech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yihyeh Adonai echad Ushemo echad. You may be seated. This week, in addition to being Shabbat, is one of the 4 special Shabbatot leading up to Passover. This week it is Shabbat Parah, the Sabbath of the cow. It sounds hilarious, but we would have read as a special reading the story of the red heifer, which is the red heifer is a red heifer. It doesn't have any marks on it. It's without blemish, and it has no black hairs sprouting up. And it would be sacrificed. Its ashes, it would be burnt. Its ashes would then be mixed into water and sprinkled on someone who came in contact with a corpse. Right? This is called the chok. We don't know how it works or why it works, but it just works, right? And so if you came in, and the reason we read it now is we are 3 or so weeks away from Passover. And in the biblical time, if you were going to take your sacrifice for Passover, you had to be ritually pure. And so this is a reminder not to let it go to the last minute. The interesting thing about the ritual of the red heifer is the person who has the stuff sprinkled on them, that helps because then they have to go to mikveh and everything, but then that helps them become pure. And the person who does the sprinkling becomes ritually impure and has to go to the mikveh. It makes no sense, and that's what a chok is. So this is Shabbat Parah, and it's to remind us to get ourselves in the spiritual state for Passover. We continue to observe Shloshim for our dear friend High Weed. And this week we observed the following yard sites: Abraham Kagan, Harold's father; Regina Levine, Regina's great-grandmother; Mo and Bernard's grandmother; and Milton's mother; Judith Rubin, Nancy Neufeld's mother; Lynn Supovitz, Lynn Mayer's paternal grandfather; Olga Cohen, related to Alan Wilkins; Harriet Kaplan, Saul Kaplan's wife; Sharon Kaplan, Simon's mother; Norma Rosenfetter, Charlie's wife, Marvin's cousin; Eva Perez Hartz, Alice Herbert's mother, Maury's grandmother; Kate Hayflick, Jerry's mother; Maurice Kauf, Etta Steinberg's father, Paul Jacobson's grandfather; Evelyn Island, Ed's wife; Hannah Green, Harold Friedman's mother-in-law, mother of Shirley; Harvey Jurin, grandfather of Nathan Daniel Jurin, son of Nathan and Rebecca; Louis E. Levine, Larry and Chuck's father; Louis Rose, Harold Rose's father; Al Rothenberg, Joan Lerner's uncle; Lula V. Williams, Hoyt Williams' mother; David M. Wutcher, Rabbi Wutcher's paternal uncle. May their souls be bound up in the bond of life eternal. May their memories be a blessing to us all, and may they always rest in peace. Mourner's Kaddish is on page 294. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabbah, b'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlik malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, b'agala v'zman kariv v'imru, amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mivorach l'olam l'mei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal, shmei krusha b'reichu, le'elam in kol birchata b'shirata, tushbachata b'nechamata, da'amiram ba'alma v'yimru, amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru, amen. Oseh shalom yivromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru, amen. All right, friends, you may be seated. A couple of quick announcements. First of all, Shabbat Shalom and good Shabbos.
Shabbat Shalom and good Shabbat.
Thank you. Services tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. And then tomorrow afternoon, was it 5, Nick?
4.
If you're a board member, there's a special board meeting tomorrow afternoon, and I can't recall the time. Please check your email. It will be here in the boardroom. That's tomorrow afternoon. But before that, at 1 o'clock, I have my Hebrew 2 class. So we have a nice group there, and it's still not too late to join. I think after this week, though, we'll be far enough in the book that it's going to be tough for you to catch up. And we're continuing our introduction to the Tanakh, and we'll be wrapping that up in the next couple of weeks. And then we're going to be starting a seminar on prayer, Jewish prayer, what it is, how to do it, why we do it. So please, if you have any interest or any questions about why we do things certain ways, this in terms of prayer, this will be a class for you. Wednesday night, we have the best choir from coast to coast, the Yiddish choir with the most, and that is our Yiddish choir. And that's Wednesday, and check your email to see if it's in person or via Zoom. And it's a quiet week, so then we'll be back next Friday for Shabbat services. You'll be getting some emails this week with information about our second night Seder, we are indeed having the second night Seder on the second night of Passover. Go figure that. It will be Tuesday, April 24th, and we're going to start it at 7 p.m. And so you'll get more information about, more information in general. But mark your calendars after Shabbat. We're going to have a second night Seder. If you were here last year, it was a great one. And we're going to try to up the ante this year and make it even better than last year's. And that's April 24th. April 14th is the raffle. So if you haven't bought your ticket, please do. If you have bought your ticket, well, then buy another one. Or if you're selling, just sell. And May 19th is our cultural festival. It's lining up to be an amazing, amazing day. Lots of support from our community. The mayor's very excited. We'll have great security. We'll have great entertainment. We'll have great people. It is going to be a blast. You don't want to miss it. And so, help us out and become part of it, because it's all about us as a Jewish community in Huntington, a chance for us to, be out there and have our neighbors come up, and people who don't know much about us come up and find out about us. Because I'll tell you what, folks, most anti-Judaism, most hatred in general, comes from a lack of knowledge. And if people have questions, they can come and ask. That's what the Jewish Cultural Festival is about, celebrating our culture as Jews. We're going to have klezmer music. We'll have great food. It's going to be a great day. So that is May 19th, a Sunday. All right. I think that's about it. That is it. Let us close our service with Ein Kelohenu, and then we'll have Kiddush. Ein Kelohenu you will find on page 322. Ein Kelohenu, Ein Kadonenu, Ein Kemolkenu, Ein Kemoshienu, Mi Eloheinu, Mi Chadonenu, Mi Chemolkenu, Mi Kemoshienu, Nodel Eloheinu, Nodel Adonenu, Nodel Malkeinu, Nodel Moshienu, Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu, Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu, Atahu Ektiru, Avotenu, Lefanecha Eketoret Asamim. All righty, now, Kiddush. Last night I almost forgot it. I zipped through. I don't know. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat לדורותם ברית עולם, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש, Shabbat vayinapash v'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. זכור את יום השבת לקדשו, ששת ימים תעבוד ועשית כל מלאכתך. ביום השביעי שבת לאדוני אלוהיך, לא תעשה כל מלאכה. אתה ובנך וביתך עבדך ואמתך ובהמתך וגרך אשר בשעריך, כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, את הים ואת כל אשר בם, וינח ביום השביעי, על כן בירך אדוני את יום השבת, ויקדשהו, סברי,
לחיים.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, בורא פרי הגפן.
Amen.
Nothing better on a Shabbat morning than Geffen grape juice. All right. Oh, we have some people saying hello to us via the intertubes. Let us see who they are. Dr. Ron. Nice draw. Shabbat Shalom from Chicago, Dr. Ron. Enjoy Chicago and come home soon. We miss you. There's Mom and Cliff. Mom and Cliff. Yes, not Mom and Hoyt, not Cliffin. No, it's Mom and Cliff. Shabbat Shalom to all from Rabbis Mom and Cliff from a nice day in PA. Thank you, Mom and Cliff. Send you very true emotional message with no regrets. Wishing everyone a peaceful weekend and a great week ahead. Well, thank you, Mom. Judy Lundy, glad that lady is no longer around to remind. Thank you, Judy. But she lived a good long time. Shabbat Shalom, wishing all a pleasant week. Thank you, Judy. Same to you. All right, friends, lots going on. Please join us for as much as you can, whether it's coming to services, whether it's coming to classes, supporting the Yiddish choir, supporting the raffle, supporting the Seder, supporting the festival. There's lots of work to be done, and it's incumbent upon us all. So I want to wish everybody a Shabbat Shalom, a good Shabbos, and please, please be careful out there. Nick, do you have